I found out my boyfriend went to a strip club and paid for a naked lap dance on the night we found out I was pregnant with our first child. He lied to my face. I completely lost control and ruined everything by how I reacted. On Saturday, my world cracked open in a way I never expected. I found out that my boyfriend of 5 years went to a strip club on the very night we discovered I was pregnant with our first child. Not only did he go, but he also paid for and received a naked lap dance. To me, that crossed a line I never thought he'd even approach. Lap dances aren't just harmless fun. They involve touching, grinding, simulated intimacy with another woman's naked body, things I've always viewed as cheating. I know, logically, that the stripper didn't care about him. She wasn't there because she found him attractive or because there was any real connection. She was there because he paid her. But that's exactly what makes it sting. He willingly handed over money to touch another naked woman. He chose it. And in my eyes, the choice alone is betrayal. Over the years, whenever the subject of strip clubs or lap dances had come up, I never minced words. I was clear, I would not be comfortable with it. I may not have sat him down and delivered a formal "if you ever do this, we're over" speech, but he knew. He absolutely knew how I felt. And the fact that he went ahead and did it anyway, and on that night of all nights, the night we found out I was carrying his child, felt like a deliberate slap in the face. Like a punch right to my gut. The way I found out was its own kind of torture. I asked him casually where he'd gone that night, already knowing the answer, but wanting to give him the chance to come clean. I wanted him to look me in the eyes, own his mistake, and be honest with me. But he didn't. He barefaced lied. Without hesitation, without shame. And I just sat there, heart pounding in my chest, listening to the man I love lie to me as if I wouldn't notice. I pressed him further. Question after question, trying to push him into honesty. My stomach was twisting, my throat tight. He kept deflecting, still holding on to his version of events, until finally it became undeniable that I knew the truth. Only then did he admit it. That moment, that instant where his lie crumbled and the admission slipped out, was like the floor disappearing beneath me. Because if he knew it was no big deal, if he believed it was harmless, then why lie? Why hide it? The answer was obvious, because he knew. He knew it was wrong. He knew it would hurt me. He knew that if I found out, I'd feel betrayed. And still, he did it. It was more than just a lap dance. It was a decision. A choice he made knowing full well it would cut me deeply. And then he added insult to injury by looking me in the eyes and lying to my face about it. I felt broken in that moment. Betrayed in a way I didn't think was possible with him. This is the man I've lived with, trusted, built my future with. The man I thought I knew better than anyone else. I've always believed he was trustworthy, dependable, respectful of me and our relationship. And now, here I was, realizing that not only did he do something he knew would devastate me, but he also thought he could cover it up with a lie, and I'd never know. Not once in 5 years, 3 of them living together, had I ever even shouted at him. Our relationship had always been calm, loving, ordinary in all the good ways. We argued, sure, like everyone does, but it was always civil, always with the assumption that we were on the same team. I never had a single shred of doubt about him. I trusted him with everything. He'd been an incredible partner, supportive, kind, steady. I treated him the way I believed he deserved to be treated. I genuinely thought we were, if not perfect, then at least the kind of couple people quietly admired. I never thought I had it in me to behave how I did next. When he finally admitted it, I lost the person I thought I was. I screamed. I threw the can of drink I was holding so hard it clattered across the floor. I ran upstairs like I was trying to escape my own body, and he followed me. Then the floodgates opened, wails that weren't just angry, but guttural and terrified. I called him names I have no right to say out loud. I cried until I had no air left. It was like a switch had been flipped, and everything polite and measured about me disappeared. What followed over the next 3 days was nothing short of a nightmare, not because of one scream, but because the whole house became a war zone of grief and recrimination. I am so ashamed when I replay it. I've spent the last 2 days hating myself for how poorly I handled it, for the things I said and did in the heat of that moment. I know that hurt and betrayal can turn people into unrecognizable versions of themselves, but knowing that doesn't make it excusable. There is no excuse. For 3 days we fought in circles. Question after question, each one opening a fresh wound. I would ask something, he would answer, and I would catch a sliver of a dodge or minimization, and it would set me off again. The crying was constant, I'd be mid-sentence, mid-sob, trying to make sense of how the man I love could have been in a place like that. And on the night we found out we were pregnant. Night after night, there was barely a wink of sleep. Exhaustion layered on top of grief makes everything worse. Small things feel catastrophic. Small slights feel like betrayal. I found myself questioning everything. Could this relationship survive? Could I bring a child into a home where the foundation, trust, felt like it had been pulled out from under me? I couldn't separate the joy of being pregnant from the image of him with someone else. They were tangled together in my head in a way that made me dizzy. There were moments when I even felt physically sick imagining what our future might look like if this stayed unresolved. How do you plan nursery colors or prenatal appointments when the person you plan them with has, in one reckless choice, made you feel so unsafe and lied to you about it? Those 3 days were ugly. I lashed out, sometimes verbally, sometimes by throwing things, sometimes by trying to force answers from him, because I was desperate to make the pain make sense. I did not act with the dignity or composure I would have wanted. After I calmed enough to look at myself in the mirror, the shame hit harder than the grief. I have never wanted to be the kind of person who loses control like that, but I also never expected to be provoked into it by something so devastating. At the same time, I can't pretend the rawness of my pain didn't feel legitimate. It felt monumental and real. Every time I tried to breathe through it, the betrayal surged back.
Trust is not a small thing.
It is the architecture of a relationship, and once the beams feel cracked, you notice every creak and every shadow. I am trying to hold those competing truths in my chest, that my reaction was destructive and regretful, and that the wound he inflicted is deep and needs addressing. When I think back to those first days after finding out, it feels like I turned into someone I don't even recognize. That moment when I slapped him on the back the evening I found out, I can still hear the sound in my head, sharp and ugly. The next morning it was the same. I was still in shock, still reeling, and when I felt he wasn't being completely honest with me, I lashed out again. A whack on the arm, a slap against his chest. It wasn't planned, it wasn't even conscious. It was like my body was acting out the pain and betrayal I couldn't yet process in words. And then came the part one regret most. Asking him to show me exactly how the lap dance was. I don't know what I thought I'd get out of it. Maybe proof that it wasn't as bad as I was imagining, maybe a way to force him to see the humiliation through my eyes. But it backfired. He pulled up a video of the kind of dance it was, and when he admitted his hands had been all over her body, her breasts, her bum, something inside me snapped completely. I pinched his shoulder, so hard I left marks. I threw both of our phones across the room, with a force that terrified me. I smashed the Hoover against the floor, poured out the bath oils he'd given me as a gift, hurled my makeup bag, and then just kept grabbing whatever was in my path to destroy it. It wasn't about the things themselves. It was about trying to make the outside chaos match the storm inside me. He tried to stop me, grabbing me by the wrists, but that only made me thrash harder. I just wanted him off me, wanted space, wanted everything to stop. And then I did something I will never stop regretting. I spat at him. Even writing that makes me feel sick. It's the lowest, most degrading act I've ever committed, and in that instant I hated myself as much as I hated him. 3 minutes of madness, of pure blind rage, and then I collapsed onto the floor in a heap. The sobs came harder than ever, the kind that leave you breathless, curled up in pain that felt bigger than my body could contain. For days afterward, it felt like I was stuck in a loop. Anger, grief, exhaustion, disbelief. The thought that I might not be able to bring a baby into a world where this was our foundation. I would look at him and see 2 versions of him at once. The man who had been my safe place for 5 years, and the man who went to a strip club and put his hands all over someone else's naked body the very same night we found out we were expecting. I felt sick imagining what else he might have hidden. If he could lie to me once, if he could disrespect me like that when our lives had just changed forever, how could I know there weren't other times? My mind wouldn't stop racing, wouldn't stop pulling at threads. But over time, 6 long days of tears, sleepless nights, and endless questions, something in me began to shift. I don't know if it was the exhaustion, or if I finally let myself see him clearly again. He was remorseful, not defensive, not minimizing, but truly remorseful. He admitted his mistake. He apologized over and over, and I could see the shame in his face. And as much as my brain screamed not to forget, my heart remembered who he's been for the past 5 years. Supportive, caring, consistent. A partner who has shown up for me in ways that matter, time and time again. It doesn't erase what he did. It doesn't mean I trust him the way I once did. That will take time, maybe a long time. But it does mean I'm starting to feel forgiveness creep in, like the tiniest crack of light through a door I thought was permanently shut. For 3 days, I truly believed I would never be able to look at him the same way again. Now, 6 days in, I can see a version of us where maybe, with work, with honesty, with boundaries, we might still have a future. I'm not naive. I know forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, and trust isn't rebuilt overnight. But I also know that one lapse in judgment, however devastating, does not erase 5 years of love and partnership. It's going to take everything in me to heal, to stop the intrusive thoughts, to stop questioning every single word he says. I feel like I am now struggling even more with my own reaction than with what he actually did. Please don't mistake this for me trying to excuse myself or make light of the situation. I know exactly how bad my behavior was. But it's like my mind can't stop replaying those moments over and over, and every time it does, I feel sicker. Because before this, across 5 years of our relationship, I had never even called him a bad name. Not once. I prided myself on being calm, respectful, measured. I thought I knew who I was. I thought I knew what I was capable of. And then in the space of a few days, I became someone I don't even recognize, someone who slapped, someone who screamed, someone who spat. And that's what haunts me. That's what I can't forgive. He doesn't seem as fazed by my reaction as I am. He keeps telling me I'm being too hard on myself, that context matters, that he understands why I lost it. He says if I'd shown this kind of behavior before, or if I'd crossed those lines over something trivial like him forgetting to cook dinner or leaving socks on the floor, then yes, of course, he'd be gone. But he sees this as a reaction to extraordinary circumstances, a perfect storm of betrayal, pregnancy hormones, stress, and pain. In his mind, it doesn't define me. But in my mind, I can't get past the fact that no matter the context, I crossed lines I swore I never would. Because no matter how much I explain it, the truth is simple. I slapped my partner. I spat at him. I showed him levels of disrespect I once believed only the worst kind of people were capable of. And now I can never take it back. I can never again say, I've never hurt my partner. That sentence will never be true again. And every time I think about it, I feel like I don't deserve him, like maybe I'm the one who destroyed us. That's why I've started thinking that maybe I need to break up with him. Not because of the lap dance anymore, not even because of the lies. But because of me, because of the way I responded. Because maybe now he's the victim, and maybe he deserves so much more than a partner who let anger and hurt take control in that way. It feels like a scar on our relationship that can never truly heal. I'm 11 weeks pregnant. I should be glowing, celebrating, planning for our future as a family. I should be daydreaming about names, decorating nurseries, taking bump pictures, laughing with him about how our lives are about to change. Instead, I feel like I've poisoned the very foundation of our future. I feel like everything is ruined now, down the drain, and maybe the only way forward is separately. Maybe we have to start fresh apart. The worst part is he doesn't want that. He keeps telling me we can move past this. That everyone makes mistakes, that a few days of chaos and anger don't have to define 5 years of love and care. He says he still sees me as the woman he chose, the woman he wants to be with, the mother of his child. He says we can do the work, that we can heal, that he forgives me. But I can't comprehend it. I can't wrap my head around how, with these lines being crossed, we could ever truly be the same again. And I keep torturing myself with the what-ifs. What if I had walked away that night instead of lashing out? What if I had gone outside, taken a drive, called a friend, anything to put space between me and the anger before it consumed me? What if I had paused, even for one breath, instead of letting the storm carry me away? Because then maybe we'd be sitting here dealing with the betrayal, yes, but not with this new layer of violence and shame that I created. Instead, we had 3 days of pure chaos, madness, destruction, words and actions I can never take back. And that's on me. I've already started talking to my therapist about it, but I still feel so lost. I feel like I'm drowning in guilt and confusion, and I don't know which way is up. Do I stay and try to forgive myself as much as I'm trying to forgive him? Do I leave and accept that I've ruined what could have been? Do I cling to his forgiveness and trust his judgment more than my own? I can't see clearly anymore.